Before the storybook wedding, the bombshell interviews, and the bitter family divide, the late Queen Elizabeth II offered her grandson a piece of quiet advice. It wasn't a single, dramatic warning. Instead, it was a series of subtle concerns from a grandmother who had seen it all. These quiet words of caution were largely ignored, but in hindsight, they almost seemed to predict the drama that would unfold. So, was the Queen, in her own quiet way, trying to tell Prince Harry to hit the brakes? And if he'd listened, could the biggest royal crisis in a generation have been avoided? To get why there were concerns, you first have to understand the sheer speed of it all. In July 2016, Prince Harry, arguably the world's most eligible bachelor, met American actress Meghan Markle on a blind date. The connection was immediate and powerful. For a prince who grew up with cameras documenting his every move, getting to know someone in secret was intoxicating. They traveled, they dated away from the press, and they fell hard. But that private little bubble was never going to last, was it? In November 2016, less than 6 months in, the relationship went public. And it wasn't confirmed by a quiet palace statement, but by a fiery announcement from Kensington Palace that condemned the wave of abuse and harassment aimed at Meghan. This was the first real sign of just how different this royal relationship would be. Harry was playing defense from the very beginning, and the battle lines with the media were drawn. Just 1 year later, in November 2017, they announced their engagement. For many, it felt like a modern fairy tale. The dashing prince had found his partner in a successful, independent woman who broke the traditional royal mold. The public was mostly captivated. It looked like the monarchy was finally modernizing by welcoming an American, a divorcee, and a self-made woman of color. Their first interview together was charming, showing a couple deeply in love and ready to take on the world. The wedding was set for May 19, 2018. From a blind date to walking down the aisle in less than 2 years. By anyone's standards, that's a whirlwind. But by the slow, cautious standards of the British monarchy, it was lightning fast. And it was that speed that reportedly gave the Queen pause. Now, Buckingham Palace has never officially confirmed any specific warning, but royal authors and insiders tell a story of a concerned grandmother. They say her worry wasn't about Meghan herself, whom she reportedly found quite charming, but about the sheer pace of it all and the potential for a massive culture clash. According to royal biographer Hugo Vickers, the Queen gave Harry a simple piece of advice: wait a year. While we can't verify that quote, it fits with other reports from those close to the monarch. Author Giles Brandreth, a friend of Prince Philip, wrote in his biography of the Queen that she was genuinely happy about the match. But he did mention one specific reservation she shared with a friend. The Queen wondered if Harry wasn't perhaps a little over in love. It sounds like a gentle, grandmotherly comment, but it's packed with meaning. For a monarch whose entire life was about putting duty before personal feelings, a grandson being over in love might mean his judgment was getting fuzzy. Royal commentator Robert Jobson agreed, later claiming the Queen felt Harry's intense love for his wife clouded his judgment. Even the formal process of getting permission was telling. Many people think an old law from 1772 is still in effect, but it was replaced by the Succession to the Crown Act of 2013. This new act says that only the first 6 people in line for the throne need the monarch's permission to marry, and Harry was one of them at the time. In his memoir Spare, Harry describes asking his grandmother. He told her, "I've been told that I have to ask your permission before I can propose." Her response was a confused, "You have to." After a moment, she supposedly said, "Well then, I suppose I have to say yes." Harry was a little thrown by her tone, but took it as the green light he needed. The formal consent was given, as it had to be. But this public thumbs up might have hidden some private doubts. The Queen's concerns weren't just about the speed of the romance, but about the practicalities. She knew exactly how crushing the institution could be. It was a world of unspoken rules and intense public pressure. Brandreth even claims the Queen suggested to Meghan that she could continue her acting career, maybe sensing that diving headfirst into the firm would be a huge shock. Another story from Brandreth's book mentions an early carriage ride with Meghan, where the Queen noted, "It is very jolty, but you soon get used to it." A simple comment about an old carriage, but looking back, it sounds like a perfect metaphor for joining the royal family. A bumpy ride that you're just expected to adapt to. The real question was whether someone as independent as Meghan could, or even should have to, adapt at the speed Harry was setting. As soon as the wedding planning started, the exact cultural clashes the Queen might have been worried about began to pop up. It was in these small dramas that the first cracks in the fairy tale started to appear. The lead up to the wedding turned into a minefield of little conflicts, each one a sign of the growing tension between what the couple wanted and how the palace operated. First, there was the infamous Tiara Gate. The story that leaked to the press claimed Prince Harry had shouted, "What Meghan wants, she gets." In his memoir, Spare, Harry denies that exact outburst, but confirms he was deeply frustrated with the Queen's longtime dresser, Angela Kelly. Harry and Meghan had picked out Queen Mary's diamond bandeau tiara, but when they asked to borrow it for a hair trial, Kelly was apparently uncooperative, citing strict protocols that just seemed like red tape to Harry. He felt his fiancée was being disrespected and saw Kelly as a troublemaker. Royal commentator Richard Eden said this whole incident set a bad tone for the marriage and their relationship with the royal family. It wasn't really about the tiara, it was about two worlds colliding. Harry's fierce need to protect Meghan versus the palace's rigid rules. Then, there was the dress. Meghan's Givenchy gown was beautiful, but behind the scenes, some traditionalists were apparently critical. Royal expert Ingrid Seward reported that the Queen privately commented that the pure white dress was too white for a divorcee. This view might seem old-fashioned, but it shows the generational and cultural gap at play. Traditionally, a brilliant white gown symbolized purity, and for a second marriage, a softer off-white was often seen as more appropriate in conservative circles. Whether it was a passing remark or real disapproval, it was another sign that Meghan was being measured against standards she wasn't raised with. The stories kept coming. Author Katie Nicholl reported a tense moment during a wedding menu tasting at Windsor Castle. Meghan, who had asked for some vegan options, was reportedly upset when she thought she tasted egg in a dish that was supposed to be egg-free. According to the source, the Queen walked in and allegedly took Meghan aside, saying quietly, "Meghan, in this family, we don't speak to people like that." Like the other stories, it's an unverified anecdote, but the fact that these reports were leaking from inside the palace was a flashing red light that Meghan's direct, American style was ruffling feathers in a culture built on hierarchy and indirectness. The friction was also growing within the family. It was widely reported that Prince William, echoing his grandmother's concerns, had also told his brother not to rush things. William supposedly asked Harry, "Are you sure about this?" and urged him to take more time. Harry reportedly took this as an attack on his choice of partner and an insult to Meghan. This conversation is now seen as a key moment in the breakdown of the brothers' once solid bond. The Queen's quiet concern was now being voiced by the future king, creating a rift that would only get wider. Right after the wedding, things looked great for the Sussexes. Their tour of Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, and Tonga was a massive success. Meghan was pregnant with their son, Archie, and the crowds absolutely adored them. They seemed to be the fresh new face of the monarchy. But the pressures that had been building were still there. The negative press got worse, and the couple felt increasingly unprotected by the palace. Looking back, the Queen's quiet concerns feel incredibly sharp, don't they? Was the over-in-love Harry so focused on shielding Meghan from the press that he didn't prepare her for the rigid machine of the monarchy itself? Did the speed of their romance mean Meghan never truly understood the gilded cage she was walking into, and how much personal freedom she'd have to give up? Their dramatic exit from royal duties in January 2020 was the explosive finale to the story that began with that whirlwind romance. In their interview with Oprah Winfrey, they laid bare their feelings of being trapped and unsupported, especially in the face of relentless and often racially charged media attacks. Meghan talked about her deep loneliness and the toll it took on her mental health, while Harry described a system he felt he had no choice but to escape. But it's important to remember that through all of it, Harry and Meghan have always spoken with warmth and respect for the Queen herself. Harry's memoir, Spare, paints a loving picture of his grandmother. Their conflict, as they've described it, was never with the monarch personally, but with the institution, the so-called men in gray suits, and other members of the family. This gives us another way to look at the Queen's so-called warning. Maybe her advice to wait a year wasn't a criticism of Meghan at all, but a sign of how well she understood the institution she led. She knew better than anyone how tough the system could be on outsiders. Perhaps her caution was really an act of love, an attempt to give them both more time to get ready for the battles she knew were coming. Maybe she wasn't warning Harry against Meghan. She was warning them both about the monarchy itself. The royal story is always changing, and new chapters are written every day. To keep up with all the latest analysis and hear more stories from behind palace walls, make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. And for a closer look at the Sussex's departure, check out our full documentary on the royal exit. In the end, we're left with a huge what if. A whirlwind romance, a few quiet words of caution from an experienced grandmother, and a series of small dramas that blew up into a massive crisis. There's no absolute proof that the Queen issued a formal warning against the marriage. But all her reported concerns, pieced together with what happened next, create a powerful story. If Prince Harry and Meghan Markle had just taken more time, would anything be different? Or was the clash between Meghan's modern, independent spirit and the ancient, rigid institution of the British monarchy always going to be a story of love and loss? That's a question royal watchers will be debating for years to come.